If finance content often sounds like it was written for robots with unlimited willpower, this episode is the antidote. This is financial advice for mortals, people with kids who wake up at 3 a.m., parents to care for, bosses who schedule meetings over lunch, rent due on the first, unexpected dentist visits, and brains that don't want to think about amortization after a long day. The aim is not to make you love spreadsheets. The aim is to build a money system that works on Tuesdays when you're tired, on Fridays when you're tempted, and in the years when life refuses to be predictable. You do not need more discipline. You need better defaults that keep their promises even when you can't keep yours. Begin where plans actually fail, in the week, not the year. When income lands in the same account you use for groceries, you force your future to fight your cravings every time you tap your card. Mortals don't win that fight reliably, and that's okay. The fix is plumbing, not pep talks. Route cash on rails. All income lands in a staging account with no card attached. Week 1 of your cycle, a bills-only account, draft the essentials that keep a basic version of your life running. Shelter and the maintenance that prevent bigger repairs later. Utilities and baseline connection. Transportation you actually use. Insurance that moves catastrophe off your balance sheet. And minimums on any debt. The day after payday, small automatic transfers refill labeled pockets for the surprises you can predict. Car repairs and replacements, medical copays and prescriptions, seasonal energy spikes, modest gifts and social plans, kids' activities, pet care, subscriptions you truly use, and the annual bills you always forget until they arrive. Every Friday morning, a weekly card reloads with the number that carries groceries and ordinary life for 7 days. On payday itself, a savings transfer and an investing drip leave staging before any mood wakes up. That choreography turns "I'll save what's left" into "saving is how money leaves my account." It doesn't require discipline because it removes the debates. The next move is to put a floor under your life. Emergencies are expensive because they compress time. Without a buffer, a flat tire becomes a high-interest loan, and a tooth becomes a late fee plus stress. Your emergency fund, call it the floor, sits in a separate account you don't swipe from, ideally at a bank you don't check every hour. Labeled so even future you gets the message. Floor, do not touch. The first milestone is 1 month of essential expenses. Essentials aren't everything you like. They're the bills that keep a basic life functioning: shelter, power, water, connection, transportation you actually use, and insurance that moves catastrophe off your balance sheet, and minimums on any debt. The aim for the first month of essential expenses. After that, aim for 3 to 6 months, depending on how steady your income is. If that target sounds impossible, shrink the unit until it's automatic and survivable. $10 every payday, or 20, or 2. Small, automatic, and boring beats aggressive, manual, and short-lived every time. Floors don't make emergencies disappear. They turn emergencies into invoices you can pay without torching your plan. Debt for mortals is not a morality play. It's a cash flow math problem. There's debt that makes the next 100 weeks cheaper or calmer, low-rate fixed loans attached to productive assets, and there's debt that hires anxiety to live in your pocket, high-interest revolving balances tied to identity or boredom. If you're carrying balances on credit cards, stop expecting willpower to save you and install guardrails instead. Minimums draft automatically from bills only. Pick one target balance for your over-minimum payment, either the highest interest rate for math wins or the smallest balance for momentum wins, and attack it on payday. If a 0% balance transfer buys you breathing room, use it. Freeze the old card and put a calendar reminder 2 weeks before the promo ends. Debt is a tool when it lowers permanent burn or buys time to fix a leak. It's a trap when it rents you a feeling you can't afford. Credit is the adult report card that determines the price of your future. The score is mostly 2 behaviors: pay on time and keep utilization low. Paying in full monthly is both. If you're starting from thin credit, a secured card with a tiny deposit, 1 recurring bill, and autopay builds history with no drama. Don't make loyalty to brands your identity. Make cheap borrowing, lower insurance, smoother housing applications, and fewer deposits your identity. Points games can be fun when the rewards drop into your actual life without spreadsheets. If they require spreadsheets and daily attention, they're a hobby, not a plan. Investing for mortals has one job: let ownership do the heavy lifting while you get on with your life. You don't need a hot stock or a cousin's secret. You need broad ownership of productive companies at a very low cost, paired with a cushion that lets you ignore headlines. A low-cost stock index fund, an S&P 500, a total US market, or a global stock fund is the engine. Add a sleeve of high-quality bonds sized to your sleep, more if volatility keeps you up, fewer if you can ride it out. Contribute on payday, reinvest dividends, and rebalance by calendar. Your birthday and half-birthday are plenty, nudging your mix back to target without consulting your feelings. If you want a one-decision answer inside a workplace plan, a low-fee target date or life cycle fund owns the mix for you and drifts towards safety as you age. Curiosity is allowed, but keep experiments small and separate, so the worst they can become is tuition, not ruin. The markets will crash again. They always do. Your plan works because you wrote it for the version of you that's tired and busy, not for the version that loves charts on a Sunday. Taxes are less about clever tricks and more about not leaking money you didn't need to spend. First, capture the free raise, the employer match in your retirement plan, if you have one. If your current tax rate is low and likely to rise, Roth contributions can be excellent because future withdrawals are tax-free. If you're in a high bracket now, traditional pre-tax contributions can meaningfully raise your savings rate today by lowering your bill. If you're unsure, blend and adjust later. In taxable accounts, prefer low turnover funds to avoid surprise capital gains distributions. Keep routine in your favor. File on time, fund on schedule, automate what can be automated. The goal isn't to outsmart the code, it's to stop paying attention taxes for complexity you don't benefit from. Insurance is the unglamorous armor that keeps a bad day from becoming a bad decade. You don't insure against annoyances, you insure against ruin. Health coverage appropriate to your life and country. Term life insurance if someone relies on your income. Disability insurance because your ability to earn is your biggest asset early on. Liability coverage that matches your real risks, deductibles sized to your floor. Review policies once a year and resist glittery add-ons that don't pay when you actually need them. Nobody brags about great deductible design. Everyone who has been hit by life's randomness wishes they had considered it earlier. The mortal way to save more is not to scold yourself. It's to make your week cost less without feeling smaller. There are 3 levers. The first is compressing fixed costs. Negotiate with a calendar. Once a quarter, schedule money calls, telecom, internet, insurance, any subscription that costs real money. Be polite, ask for the current retention offer, and be ready to switch. Convert wins immediately. Half boosts investments, half reduces permanent burn by canceling something else or prepaying a necessity. The second lever is proximity over prestige. Your cheaper home far from your life sounds smart and bills you a second rent in fuel, tires, insurance, payout from exhaustion, and time you never get back. When moving isn't possible, buy proximity by the hour. Errands stacked into a single loop, grocer and pharmacy on your route, a weekly joy within walking distance. When you can move, choosing smaller near your routines over bigger far from them is an invisible raise. The third lever is designed boredom. Your phone becomes a tool instead of a mall. Shopping and trading apps move 2 swipes away. Red badges are off unless they're about safety or work. Checkout pages don't auto-fill saved cards. You install a weekly buy window, so non-essentials wait until Saturday morning. When a desire doesn't survive, the price moves into a pocket named Cart Rescue, so patience pays you. Boredom is more expensive than coffee. Plan joy cheaply, and you stop paying to feel alive while pretending you're saving money by skipping small pleasures. Maintenance is unglamorous wealth. Oil changes, tire pressure,
Roof inspections, dentist visits, password audits, backups, filter swaps, none of these will impress your friends. All of them delete catastrophes before they form. Put 2 money and maintenance days on your calendar each year. On those days, you rebalance investments, project taxes, verify beneficiaries and titles, shop insurance, change filters, check tires, update passwords, run backups, restock first aid, and do the dull checks that keep small problems small. Crisis avoided is the highest return you'll never see on a statement.
Your income matters, but the way you ask for more matters even more. Raises and rate increases don't show up because you are worthy, they show up because your value is legible. Once a week, write one sentence that ties your work to an outcome. Minutes saved by a process you created, errors prevented by a checklist, refunds reduced by a message, revenue added by a tweak. In 6 months, you'll have a raise case that's evidence, not vibes. Anytime you deliver the same outcome twice, productize it. Give it a name, a scope, a timeline, and a price. Onboarding starter for busy managers, calendar cleanup for clinics, launch day playbook for local shops. This turns hours into assets, templates, playbooks, snippets, code that pay you when you're not in the room. Mortals don't need 9 side hustles. Mortals benefit from one clear outcome that's easy to hire. Behavior beats knowledge on ordinary days. Before you buy, label the weather in your head. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired, bored, anxious. After the label, translate price into after-tax hours and upkeep. If you take home $15 an hour and the shoes are $90, whisper 6 hours plus cleaning plus eventual replacement. If it's worth it, buy and enjoy without guilt. If not, let it wait for the buy window and pay cart rescue instead. Tape an enough sentence inside a cabinet you open daily that describes the tools and comforts that let your week work. The shoes you actually wear, the kitchen gear you actually cook with, the leisure you actually enjoy, and the few luxuries that end when the bill ends. If the temptation fits the sentence, great. If not, it waits. This tiny ritual prevents identity shopping, buying a costume for a life you don't intend to live, with the least possible friction. Retirement for mortals is not a number, it's a glide path. The practical version is a 3-bucket rhythm. You keep a near-term buffer of cash-like assets to fund the next 1 to 2 years of withdrawals. You hold a sleeve of high-quality bonds for the next few years after that to dampen storms. The rest of your long-term money stays in broad equities, so growth can outrun inflation. You rebalance by calendar, not by headline. When markets stumble, you spend from the buffer and let equities heal. When they run, you trim winners to refill the buffer. If work is optional before you feel ready, you can take a partial sabbatical or reduce hours and let the buckets carry you. Retirement can be a series of gentler years, not a cliff you have to jump off once. Estate and contingency planning sound like paperwork for later. They're kindness now. Keep a simple "if I disappear" note in a safe place that a trusted person can reach. It lists where accounts live, who the beneficiaries are, key contacts, and what to do first. Make sure titles and beneficiaries reflect your current reality. Consider a will and, if appropriate in your jurisdiction, a basic power of attorney and health directive. This isn't morbid, it's love in documents. And it has a selfish upside. When your affairs are in order, you act bolder because you aren't secretly afraid of paperwork. Mortals also need a scoreboard that doesn't become a second job. Once a month, spend 5 quiet minutes answering the same small set of questions. Did bills draft without drama? How many late fees? Did the floor go up, down, or sideways? Did you contribute on payday? Did you rebalance if it was a rebalance month? Did you run the rebuying ritual? Did you schedule 2 cheap joys? That's it. Count, don't judge. If you hit a threshold, say 20 tally marks across the categories, celebrate with a predetermined no-regret treat. You're training your brain to associate money with competence rather than anxiety. Let's make this lived in with 3 rooms where mortals actually live. A single parent with 2 kids and a commute couldn't catch a break. Overdrafts, late fees, delivery meals after long evenings, she felt like a failure. On a Sunday, she installed rails. Paychecks to staging, no card, week 1 bills from bills only, day after payday pocket refills, Friday weekly reload. 2 exhausted night dinners went into the freezer with their names on a whiteboard. Shopping apps moved off the home screen, red badges off unless they were about safety or school. She auto-enrolled in the workplace plan at a modest rate, captured the match, chose the low-cost target date fund, and set a 1% auto increase for her work anniversary. 90 days later, late fees were fossils. An initial month of essentials lived in her floor, and she had the headspace to ask her manager to trial a new scheduling tool. When it cut prep time by 20 minutes per shift, she had a raise case with receipts. Nothing about life got easy. Everything got less fragile. A gig economy couple with variable income felt whiplashed by feast and famine cycles. They set up the same rails but with a twist. In high months, automatic transfers filled the floor and prepaid utilities. In low months, the weekly reload shrank by rule instead of guilt. They used a separate taxes pocket that skimmed a percentage off every deposit. For investing, they picked a global index fund plus an intermediate term bond fund and set contributions to a low baseline that never turned off, then added a small surge contribution in high months. 2 quarterly money calls lowered their insurance and internet bills. Moving 2 miles closer to the grocery and client cluster cut a second rent they didn't realize they were paying. The result wasn't steady income, it was steady rules. That was enough. A 56-year-old who felt late had a decent income, scattered accounts, and no plan he trusted. He consolidated old workplace plans into his current one, chose the cheapest index options, and wrote a 1-paragraph policy he could obey. Own low-cost global stocks paired with high-quality bonds sized to sleep, contribute on payday, reinvest dividends, rebalance by calendar, keep curiosity small and separate. He increased contributions to capture catch-up limits, thickened his bond sleeve, and built a 2-year cash buffer for future withdrawals. He made an "if I disappear" note, updated beneficiaries, and scheduled annual insurance reviews. He still wished he had started earlier. He no longer felt doomed. That difference changed his willingness to keep going, which is what compounding needs most. You might be asking, how do I start without turning my life upside down? Start with 3 moves tonight. Rename 2 accounts, staging, no card, and bills only. Point all income to staging. Adjust due dates so essentials draft in week 1 from bills only. Then set a tiny automatic transfer, any amount that doesn't stress your week, to a pocket labeled floor, do not touch. Last, log into your retirement plan or brokerage, choose the cheapest broad index fund or a target date fund that matches your timeline, turn on dividend reinvestment, and add a small automatic contribution on payday. If you've got 30 extra minutes, move shopping and trading apps off your home screen and install a weekly buy window so non-essentials wait for one calm decision. In 30 days, add a monthly rebuy ritual to cancel 1 subscription while the tab is open and route the savings before you close the browser. Add a quarterly money call session to negotiate telecom, internet, insurance, and anything with a recurring price tag. Put 2 money and maintenance days on your calendar for the year and honor them when they arrive. Write your "enough" sentence and tape it where you'll see it when temptation visits. If you have dependents or property, schedule time to create or update a simple will and beneficiary designations. None of this requires you to become a different person. It requires you to adjust the room so the person you already are can win more often. Let's answer a few mortal questions plainly. What if the market drops right after I start? It will, repeatedly, over your lifetime. Your defense is a blend you can sleep with, a floor that lets you pay bills without selling low, and rules you obey by calendar instead of headline. What if I can only save a tiny amount? Early on, your savings rate matters more than your investment returns. Begin embarrassingly small and install an auto increase of 1% each year or each raise until you notice friction. Then pause for a season. What if I mess up? You will. Replace shame with a debrief. What was the weather in my head? What job was I hoping that purchase would do? And what small change reduces the chance next time? Adjust friction, not identity. What if I'm older? Compounding still works on contributions you actually make. Catch-up rules exist for you. Working one additional year, if possible, can transform the math by adding contributions, reducing the years your portfolio must fund, and potentially increasing benefits. Late is not never. Late is just now. If money advice has ever made you feel small, let this be the version that doesn't. Mortals don't need perfect months. Mortals need weeks that keep their promises and habits that survive boredom, stress, and joy. Rails for cash, a floor for calm, ownership on autopilot, costs compressed by calendar, joy scheduled on purpose so your card stops being a therapist, maintenance like rent, insurance as a firewall, debt treated as a tool, not an identity, a phone that is a tool, not a mall, an enough sentence that fits the person you already are, a one-paragraph investing policy you can obey when the world gets loud, a 5-minute scoreboard that proves to your own nervous system that things are working. A year from now, financial life won't feel like fireworks. It will feel like the absence of panic, bills drafting without drama, groceries fitting under a weekly roof, a quiet pile of cash for